I've published 2 books.
Toured around the world as a country musician.
So let me ask you, what's the biggest crowd you've played in front of that? Cutting those strings was, and burning boats and not looking back, because I resigned. I'd left a whole lot of sick leave and all those sorts of benefits on the table, but I was determined that phase of life was over.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle. Hey guys, before we jump into today's episode, we just wanted to take a really quick moment to thank one of our sponsors, Tala Offshore. For any business wanting to maximize their return on new hires, Tala offers seamless access to top-tier Filipino talent who are real employees, hand-selected by the team, slashing your staffing costs by up to 60% with onboarding in under a week. Visit talaoffshore.com to scale smarter. And thanks again to Tala for supporting The Business Game.
Hello, and welcome to The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle. Before we get started today, make sure you hit like and subscribe wherever you're listening. So, my name's Lisa Angelis.
And I'm Steve Plummer.
And today we're having a chat, just the two of us, so you can get to know who you're sitting down with every week. So
A bit of freestyle.
A bit of freestyle. Yeah. We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
We got some prompts, and we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
So, first of all, Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
Well,
and welcome to you, Lisa.
Thank you also. I appreciate that. I guess, first of all, give us a little bit of your background. What's the cliff notes of your career?
So I spent 20 years as a high school teacher. I was a head of department and a deputy principal.
What was your department?
I was the humanities head of department, history, geography. So I love the History Channel on Fox, and so history and geography. I also taught English. I've also been a freelance journalist. While I was teaching, I was a freelance journalist. I was one of Australia's leading boxing writers for a number of years, and I've interviewed Jeff Fennick and Danny Green and all of those guys from back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, and I left about 15 years ago. I left education and found my way into copywriting. So I've been a professional writer and marketing strategist for the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. All right. So how did you end up here with us?
A friend of mine who I helped also leave education saw a notice about this and said, hey, you'd be really good at this. Why don't you apply?
Amazing.
Yeah. And so I taught her how to be a copywriter. She's now got her own business as a copywriter. And it was just one of those, I guess, serendipitous moments where I did, and here we are.
And here we are.
Freestyling away.
Yeah, freestyling away. My process has been a little bit different. I guess my cliff notes are that I came from an entertainment background, and specifically moving into digital marketing later. So I started in sales, just working sort of retail jobs when I came straight out of school, traveling a lot, doing sales. From there, that kind of led into working as a tour guide, because bit of a history nerd, nice little bit of overlap there.
Yeah.
And I started tour guiding. I did that for quite a number of years, realized that I loved getting to know people and learning and speaking. It's probably like really nice for my neighbors and my family members that I have somewhere to go and get it out.
You're no shrinking violet. Let's just say that, right?
No, it's true. So, so I came from tour guiding. I then moved out of that into what was my passion for a long time, which was music. Yeah. So toured around the world as a country musician, and then basically started getting all of the things that I wanted, everything I'd been working towards, the festival slots that I wanted, the tours that I wanted, all of those things, hitting the milestones that I'd been strategizing towards for years. And once I started getting them, I realized that what I had actually loved was the strategy, not so much.
Not the doing.
Not the doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I had been an independent artist, bit of like I love feeling like I'm walking a tightrope to some extent, I guess.
Yeah.
So, figuring out what do we want and then work backwards from that. How do we get on those festivals? How do we get those jobs? How do we get the record made? What does our social media strategy look like? So from there, once I started realizing that that's what was happening, I began contracting for other people, doing the same thing for them, graphic design, basically people would come to me, tell me what they needed, and I'd tailor them a package for it. And eventually that led to me ending up here sort of similarly that, somebody who was already in this team that I had worked with previously said, we need someone to fill these gaps.
Yeah.
I think I've got the girl. She's an all-rounder. And here we are.
They were right.
And they were
Yeah.
they were right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they were right.
Time will tell.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly it.
So let me ask you,
Yeah.
what's the biggest crowd you've played in front of then?
I mean, look, I think that there's probably been some really big ones that weren't my crowds, honestly.
Yeah.
I sort of I was at the point where I was making a living off performing.
Yeah.
And then playing, on some massive stages, especially opening shows for people. But I still sort of think in my mind of what was like my stage rather than a stage that I happened to be on, do you know?
Mm.
But I played, for example, the Tamworth Country Music Festival, the main stage there a couple of times. Off the top of my head, I can't think what their numbers are, but it's, massive.
It's big. It's big.
It's
big enough. Yeah.
It's big enough.
Yeah.
Biggest country music festival in Australia, I believe. Shout out to the Tamworth Country Music Festival. Yeah, so all over the place. I played the CMA Fest in Nashville, which is the biggest country music festival in the world.
Yeah.
But also, again, that one was like a bucket list goal. But I went there and I played small shows. It was my first year. And then that was sort of shortly after that, I realized that I was maybe in the wrong industry a little bit.
Right.
Not from that. I had an incredible time.
I love Nashville, by the way. I've been to Nashville.
Incredible city.
Broadway down there with the honky-tonk bars. And
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So I got offered that and I was like, yes, I will come. I'll do whatever you want. I literally, if they had said, we need you to play in the public toilets, like we need you to serenade the users of the public toilets, I would absolutely have done it just to get on that bill, wherever they needed me. When you think of your career, what was your biggest kind of turning point? We were chatting earlier today when we were kind of getting to know each other off camera.
Yeah.
We were chatting a bit about, the different sort of phases of life, that there's different career chapters almost. What do you think the biggest turning point for you has been?
I think it was being brave enough to leave education.
Absolutely.
Secure government job, you don't have to technically think about anything. And I had 4 kids. Well, I've got 4 kids still.
Right. Right.
4 kids and a mortgage. And
right.
And leaving the security of that was, I guess it was a brave move in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
It in some ways, it didn't feel like it was brave at the time because it was time to move on, right? But looking back, and a lot of people said, wow, that was really brave. And I didn't consider it that, but I think cutting those strings was, and burning the boats and not looking back, because I resigned. I'd left a whole lot of sick leave and all those sorts of benefits on the table, but I was determined that phase of life was over.
Yeah,
so
right.
That being brave enough to do that opened up a lot of doors.
Yeah, amazing. And I mean, led all the way to this table here, which is amazing.
Here we are now, yes.
I think there is something certainly in that, in the being brave enough and game enough to recognize that you've taken yourself as far down a path as you're prepared to go, however far that is.
Yeah, and it's an interesting concept because bravery, I think, is different things to different people in their industry. For you, it might have been walking onto a big stage in Nashville, for instance. That might have been a brave thing, or even applying for it. And if you're running a business, it might be hiring your first or second or third employee when you're in that phase of, can I afford it? So I think bravery means different things for different people. And if I could look back, and I think if someone said to me, what have you learned, or what would you do differently? I think it would be take more risks. Be more brave, more courageous, take more risks, even though I think I've done that, but it would definitely be, what other risks can I take?
Yeah, absolutely.
I heard a beautiful saying the other day, the difference between successful people and people who don't achieve so much success, it's that no one's got it figured out. Everyone is standing around scratching their heads, trying to work out what's going to happen, what's the next move, and so forth. The difference between people who stay stuck and the ones who become more successful is that they scratch their heads moving forward.
Right.
Because no one's got it figured out. I mean, no one's got a crystal ball. The world could blow up tomorrow. Touch wood that it won't. But and so that was a really interesting reframe of that. Well, how do you be brave? How do you be courageous? Well, you just scratch your head moving forward and work it out as you go. I know that wouldn't be something new in the entrepreneurial world, but that no one has it all figured out is I think a really important message.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That it is funny how also being around, say, entrepreneurial people or in non-traditional sort of jobs also really changes your perception of that. It makes it much easier, I think, to take leaps if the people around you are also taking leaps, And I've noticed that I've had over the years, especially like earlier on when I was still kind of figuring out what I wanted, traditional jobs where it is, there's people are much more entrenched in what they're doing for a much longer time. And because I guess for myself, because I tend to like that adrenaline thing, the feeling like, what's going to happen next? Where are we going? The risk taking, I suppose, is kind of an inherent way of moving through the world. And there has never been a time that I can think of for myself or for anyone else that I know of, who also moves in those same spaces and with that same kind of philosophy, who has said, well, that was a mistake. It's...
Here's another way of looking at that. I've heard it expressed that every single human being on this planet lives in a bubble. And, even today, the algorithm keeps us in a bubble. If you say blue shoes, people listening say blue shoes, you're going to get, in your feed, ads about blue shoes, for instance, but you won't get all the blue shoes out there. It's just be the ones that the algorithm shows you. And so you mentioned before about what environment you're in. Whatever your environment you're in, whether it's an employed environment or an entrepreneurial environment, it's still a bubble. And I think one of the challenges, I'll speak from my experience, one of the challenges for me has always been to step out of that bubble.
Right.
And see things differently and do things differently and see, I guess, what other people are doing. I think that's really important because we all exist in a bubble, whether it's an entrepreneurial bubble, an employment bubble, a parent bubble. How can you step out of that bubble and look at the world differently?
Yeah, absolutely. What, in terms of what you've achieved so far, you've obviously had this quite an incredible career that spanned, that you can sort of see looking back how you got sort of from point A to B, I suppose. When you explain it, seems really clear. I'm sure in the moment you're kind of like, what am I doing? But what are you most proud of? Like if you had to pick an achievement that you think that was good, whatever it is, on what would yours be?
I think without doubt it would be that I've got 4 beautiful kids.
Lovely.
Yeah, that's career achievements, all of those things. They're important, but in some ways they're just trinkets. What really matters is that family and I guess bringing up beautiful human beings.
Yeah, lovely.
That's probably head and shoulders above everything else. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, I love that. One of the things that we spoke about, the production team and I, after we met you the first time, was that we were all sort of, the very first time you and I met, we spoke about my shoes, my Cuban heels.
The Cuban heels. Yes.
And I said, I really like him. I feel like he's an interested listener, There are people often who will not engage with concepts that they're not really already familiar with. And I remember you said, I've got, was it 2 girls?
Yes.
Yeah.
2 and 2. Yeah. There you go.
Lovely.
You're a good listener too.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Said I've got 2 girls and, I always like to kind of keep on top of subjects that might be something that could come up with them. And I love that. I think that's a great attitude.
It was Cuban heels. What the hell are Cuban heels? I've never heard of Cuban heels before.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got the angle at the back there.
They've got the angle at the back.
Yeah.
They look chic, but you're still walking on a platform.
A good solid platform. They're not stistilettos
No,
where you're going to rock
right.
over. They're solid. They look good. All that
Oh
stuff.
my God,
right?
look, I can't believe I've really taught you something. I'm glad. Could we should get we'll get the production team after this to pop a Cuban heel on the screen.
Yes. So everyone can see what we're talking about.
So everyone can learn what a Cuban heel is.
Yeah.
You're all welcome.
Hey guys, just wanted to do a quick shout out to our affiliate partner OpusClip. If you need great video edits without hiring an editor, their AI engine turns your raw clips into share-ready content in under a minute, no skill required. Find our link in the description to support our show and get a great sign-up bonus. Create more, stress less with OpusClip.
I've got a question for you, Lisa, about the podcast.
Let's do
Out of
it.
all the guests you've interviewed and seen and listened to and so forth, which conversations have stuck with you the most?
Yeah, right. So I am, obviously, but for everybody else who doesn't know, my role here is that I am a producer here at the Business Game. So even the interviews that I have not been personally hosting,
You see everything.
so I see
Yeah.
all of them. I
Yeah.
see all of them. I've got a hand in a lot of pies along the process. And I think for me, there was actually a conversation that I think I've even referenced it. Actually, I feel like I've referenced it with another guest. Actually, I spoke to Blair Vega Norfolk about it. Was the conversation with Lauren Oakes, who is the former CEO of Megaphone, the marketing company, and she was talking about they asked her about, your worst hire. Can you tell us your worst hiring experience? Not the best one. She had a best one too, but what was your worst one? They made this hire who was meant to be somebody who knew more than any of them, that was meant to kind of come in and do this great job, and actually just ended up being a really bad fit culture-wise. And it really made a mess of, everything sort of from there down. And she said, I think the way she said it, I'm paraphrasing, was basically that we only kept him on for 3 weeks, and in hindsight, that was probably 2.5 weeks too many, basically, And she said, and then we kind of had to unpick that time. And I find myself thinking about that all the time in my day-to-day, and obviously bringing it up all the time. Blair actually said something similar, that your culture matters so much, and it's made me think a lot from like a workplace environment, and also just in your life with the relationships of the people around you, that I think finding those people that are on the same page as you about things, or if not on the same page, that you have that sort of symbiotic relationship with, where everybody can kind of help each other be better or be their best, is really important. And I think about that a lot. And I feel like that is something that, especially hearing it from two CEOs, from both Blair, said something similar, from Lauren, something that I will carry with me for a really long time on a professional level.
So what does that say to you about maybe trusting your gut?
For sure. Yeah.
Over the intellect?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And also that I think Blair added to that and said, that at his company, Biome, they try to hire and grow people from the inside, right? So not necessarily who has the most relevant degree, or the best business suit, or the nicest car, or whatever it is, whatever your metrics are, that sometimes it is actually just the right person for the job will sort of, find you.
And let me ask you then, is that a really fast knowing? As in trust the gut, does it hit you instantly, or do you need to sit with it for a while? Like, what did you learn from that? And I think even what did you learn from the reflection of those episodes?
I tend to be somebody who kind of leaves things quite open. I'm happy to. I remember my sister saying once about me that I am somebody who takes a long time to pass judgment. Like she said, some people pass judgment quickly and then they're happy to have their mind changed. Whereas I sort of tend to go the other way. I take a very long time to kind of gather all the information, and but it was really interesting to hear that, say Lauren said, in hindsight, we probably 2.5 weeks, we had him for 3, we should have let him go, 3 days in. I think probably means that there is something in that, of just seeing it and not letting something just play out, having the gut knowledge, trusting, What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's more of I won't say instant, but I think it's more of a fast thing as opposed to an analysis thing. You kind of know, and then maybe you intellectually look for signals that the gut feeling was right. I think that's
Right.
maybe how it works.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It must have been an uncomfortable 2.5 weeks for them though, right? Until
Yeah, true. I mean, and for the poor guy that
yeah,
got
yeah.
that only
Yeah.
lasted the 3 weeks,
Yeah.
you know. Do you have rituals? I know you're obviously new to recording here with us, but you've obviously done a whole bunch of public speaking. And do you have any rituals before you come to do something like this?
Yeah, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But probably not overly formal about it. Like, I think it's, for me at least, it's about being present with myself first, so then I can be present with the guest,
Right.
be they on a screen or be they, face to face. So it's about, for me, it's that presence thing, and that probably means different things for different people. But I think it's just, a deep breath. The breath is really important. So it's a deep breath sort of thing for me, and sitting with myself so I can sit with the other person.
Absolutely.
What about you?
Probably something similar, but with like a physical trigger for it, actually, which is I have a particular smell, like a perfume oil that I wear that I wear all the time. And from, especially with, say, tour guiding, which is also where I learned like that good memory stuff and, all those kinds of things. Especially a job where you're kind of working on the fly and you are pulling a lot from the environment around you, or you're talking to guests and, gathering information from them and kind of interpreting that and all that sort of thing. I find it really grounding to have this particular smell. I put it on before anything I do publicly. So for years, anytime before I was about to walk out on stage, it was like the very last thing I did was it's an oil. So, a dab on each wrist.
What oil is it?
It's called Spiritual Sky. I wonder if I have it here. No, I think I've left it in another room, but it's called Spiritual Sky. And it's a perfume oil. It's like $10 a bottle, but it smells incredible. I've been wearing it for years.
Yeah.
And it's the ritual, I suppose, of that and the smell, which is the smell that I associate with being ready.
Yeah. And what about when you were going on stage before performing? Was there anything different you did then?
Same thing.
Warming up the voice and stuff like that. Was that
I actually rarely ever even warmed up. And I gigged also, not just on from an artist perspective, but doing cover gigs and that sort of thing. So where you're talking, 4 hours of solid playing and singing.
Yeah.
You kind of end up in you have to go for acupuncture the next day because, but no, it's almost, I always thought of it as endurance singing, but no, I never really.
Wow.
It's probably really bad. You probably shouldn't. I know I should not say that. I was a probably trained singer.
Yeah.
But no, nothing. It's literally just the act of, checking in with your body, I guess maybe is more what it is, to make sure that you feel like you're breathing into the right places. Breath work, as you said, I think is certainly the most important thing in say, singing. I think it's the most important thing in a lot of ways in, public speaking, anything you're doing publicly.
That's right. Because when we get stressed, right, we breathe really shallow, right up here, like that kind of thing. And being able to step that back and breathe really deeply into the belly. I don't know if that's the singing thing.
Yeah, exactly that. And I wonder if that's also the perfume thing as well.
Yeah,
you smell the scent and you do the, and you've got like a physical marker of how it's moving through you almost.
That's cool.
Interesting. Oh, look at this. We've learned something.
Yes.
What is one thing that people would be surprised to hear about you, to learn about you, I should say?
I've published 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was a poetry book under my first 2 names, Steve and Vincent.
Yeah.
And the second one was a marketing book called Influential Marketer, which is published under Steve Plummer. So, I've sold copies of that in all over Australia, both books rather, all over Australia, the UK, the US, Canada.
Yeah,
and I've been on a number of podcasts doing the promo tour of that kind of thing.
Cool.
So that's probably one thing.
So this is like old hat for you. You're on the podcast thing.
Yeah. So being on the other side of the mic, even though we're kind of freestyling it here, but being on the other side of the mic is certainly something I've done many times. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. It's the experience of switching sides is interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
It occurred to me when the first sort of few times that I hosted, and I've obviously same thing, have done like the publicity circuits. it's interesting how much more engaged you have to be when you're the person that is leading the conversation rather than being led.
Well, that's that active listening thing, right?
Yes.
That's why you've got to be, I guess, in my view, you've got to be switched on and locked
Absolutely.
in and listening. So let me ask you that.
Yes.
Lisa, what's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
I think mine is that I am profoundly deaf in one ear. And it happened only about 4 years ago, actually. So I just woke up one morning and I had no hearing in one ear.
Has that got a name, like a medical name?
Yeah, the illness is called labyrinthitis because it affects the labyrinth in your inner ear, right in there. Yeah. I apparently got a very severe case of it. And all the online information is wrong in my experience and in from the support groups and things that I, went looking for answers in. There's a lot of information that sort of says that it's temporary, like the hearing loss is temporary. Everything kind of tends to kind of come back on, which was not the case for me. And everyone I've spoken to, it's not been the case for. But mine was really severe and it completely knocked out my vestibular system. So I was in...
That's a big word.
Vestibular system. It's, for anyone who doesn't know, the vestibular system is basically...
Not just me, I'm sure.
It's not just you. No, it's okay. I realize that it's so commonplace to me that I just said it. Your vestibular system basically controls your balance. So, and your inner ear is more or less right behind your eye. So what labyrinthitis did to me, especially this really severe version, was that I had such severe vertigo that I could not orient myself at all.
Walking into walls and things like that, or
not even able to walk.
Oh, wow.
I presented in hospital, and for the duration that I was there, the first time around was in a wheelchair. I remember walking a block from the hospital to get like an X-ray done, and it took me about an hour, and that was probably a week into the recovery. The first time I was kind of out of the wheelchair. And it felt like this incredible accomplishment. Like I'd been on this journey and it had been this tiny walk, But so what it did for me was I developed like a tremor in one eye. So I couldn't focus my eyes. I couldn't walk. I couldn't figure out where I was in the world. And obviously I couldn't hear. So, yeah.
And so what causes it?
They think, unfortunately, it turns out we don't really seem to know very much about inner ears, is my experience, is what I learned from that experience. But basically they think that it is, say like it can be like the common cold even, but that attacks the inner ear instead. I got a really severe case. So spent probably about 9 months in and outpatient programs. Hyperbaric oxygen treatment, steroid injections through my eardrum. When they were doing the steroid injections, of course, steroids mean that you don't heal. So they did the injections and then the hole never healed. So I had to have a surgery last year. I have a big scar where they had to, we won't go into like the gory details, but basically, a massive, I would say that also really changed the trajectory of my life because it was the combination of that illness and stubbornly being like, absolutely no, I'm a musician. I've committed my life to this. This is what I want to do. And it wasn't that I was actually able to pick it up and keep going with that and actually have my biggest career successes after that happened. Wow. But what it did for me was completely make me reassess what I was doing in my life and what was making me happy and what was not. I didn't want the sunk cost fallacy to affect how I was moving through the rest of my life.
I guess that's proof of the saying, there's a gift in everything, right?
Absolutely.
You may not see it at the time,
yeah,
and there might be a lot of pain in that, but there is a gift in there somewhere. So, well, interesting story. Actually, you mentioned your eardrum and the going behind the ear, and one of our sons burst his eardrum coming down a water slide. Same thing, right? I had a skin graft on the eardrum and going behind.
Oh, he's got the scar too.
Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It actually was. They kept
so
using the word.
I know what you're talking about.
They kept using the word patch. We're just going to patch the hole, which sounded like, oh, okay. And then I think afterwards, when they'd sort of stapled everything back together, I went, patch. It sounded like nothing.
Yeah.
But no, a very interesting period. But I remember saying to my mum, actually, I'm from Sydney originally. I live now in Queensland, and so I sort of went through this with it was pretty much just my partner who I live up here with, my boyfriend. And, going through also that experience without like the rest of your support network, which happened shortly after I moved up here. But I remember calling her and saying, I'm like a bit annoyed. Like, it's annoying. I'm not enjoying going to hospital every day. I'm not enjoying all these treatments. I don't want to go to vestibular physiotherapy anymore. But I feel like I actually feel very, how do I say this? Very cared for right now. Like, I feel like I am, yes, receiving incredible medical care. Could not speak more highly of the medical care I received. Shout out to the Royal Brisbane. But specifically, I just felt I had this real sense of calm that where I am in my life right now is exactly where I'm meant to be. And this is going to resolve itself in whatever way it resolves itself. But I feel really sure that I'm going through this now, but it will lead to wherever I'm meant to go.
Almost like a reset for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. So
Interesting.
there we go. Something that would surprise people to learn about me.
Yeah.
Deaf in one ear.
Which
Very
ear is it?
loud.
Which ear is it? Left one.
It's the left. Oh,
This
is my good side.
Yeah, we should be
though.
on the other side, right? Yeah.
But is there anything do you have anything that you would like to add, Steve?
Tune in.
Oh yeah,
Tune
that's
into our
it.
next episode.
Like and subscribe. We got to just keep drilling that in. We have some really incredible guests coming up over the next few weeks.
And they're all locked in. Looking forward to a lot of different conversations with a broad spectrum of
Absolutely.
people at various stages of success, and some of whom have created incredible success. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to it. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to having you on the show.
Thanks, Lisa. Can't wait.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
To help support our continued mission to provide free, best-in-class advice from the world's most compelling business leaders, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you never miss an episode. See you next Thursday.
Thanks for tuning in to The Business Game. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, Plummer Offshore, for powering today's episode. And join us again on the next episode of The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle.